Godspeed.
Hello and welcome to the Nines, presented by AT&T. Today, we have an extra special edition of the Nines for you. It's our year-end 2019 Esports and other things related awards countdown show. The only esports award show that anyone gives a crap about. And today, I'm joined by Frodan and MonteCristo, and it looks like, are these props or do we actually get gifts?
People that actually know the industry voting on esports awards, that's not how it works at all, Mitch.
Completely unheard of.
Mitch is just salty because he keeps losing.
Bro! Okay. At least I didn't lose to Ninja or something ridiculous. Like, this year I was okay with who I lost to. We have gifts. They're not actually props. I mean, that would be a lot of effort to make just to wrap things just for props. So we'll open them later on and see what we got from Uncle C9.
That's right. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the Esports Awards, and we'll be counting down what we think are the 9 biggest events in the industry and award them the Nines Award. And later on the show, we'll be talking to Cloud9's newest LCS support player, Vulcan. And stick around because at the end, we'll also be arguing, as usual, about our year-end list with Click Debate. And so that's where you, the viewers, will have a chance to win some Puma gear as long as you're 18 years or older. And so there's a lot that happened this past year. Let's get right into it. First up on our countdown of the most impactful game moments of 2019. At number 9 is the Nines. Probably
Were you just drum rolling for number 9?
Esports variety show that's ever
The greatest,
a
the best
digital
ever.
platform.
No one's done a show like us ever before. It's great. It's amazing.
We never said this list was unbiased. But, we've had some fun moments and created some above-average content for Cloud9's Twitch and YouTube channel.
Ask anyone. It's the best show ever.
Australian Trump is interesting. Just put that out there.
That's right. We've had some fun moments. People flipping, people smacking, people clicking.
People
What is this
snooping.
noir shot of Monty?
Yeah.
It's the LOL Noir skit that we did.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thorin has great detective posture.
I get stuck with these claims.
Do your run.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that was fun. That was hanging out with Loco a little bit on the show was great because he's such an easy target, mate. Like, it's so easy to light him up with the banter.
Human pinata. You just verbally smack him and all the candy comes out. It's great.
He keeps calling it the juice. He called it the juice. So
I call it the candy.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, that's sweet. All right, well, in all seriousness, up next at number 8, we have The International. The crowdfunded prize pool for the Dota 2 tournament was over $34.3 million. It broke its own previous year's record for the largest purse in a single esports tournament. And what happened was OG beat Team Liquid in the grand finals to take home over $14 million in front of over 1 million concurrent viewers on Twitch. How does Dota have arguably the biggest tournament of any title, but yet is not the most popular game? Although if you look at some stats, it does indicate that Dota still once in a while takes number 1.
Okay, that's fine. Like, but there are so many esports now with like league formats and stuff like that. Like, Dota has their majors.
Look at that. You know why he didn't win Esports Cast of the Years? Because Capitalist is one-upping you.
Piss off. He knew he was on camera, bro. He's just hamming it up. I mean, his co-caster.
He had the pit stain, so he's trying to mask it by wetting
exactly,
himself.
Bro. League Africa just doesn't get the job done these days, I guess. Sorry, Cap. I mean, look, I love the international. I don't follow Dota on the regular. I don't watch the smaller majors generally, but when the international's on, I really was genuinely interested in watching and learning about it. So they do a great job every year. Big shout out to everyone involved in that production.
Yeah, and the fan base still so passionate. Like, they will never let Dota anywhere near dying because they just play Dota. It was like one of these really funny things when Overwatch got released, right? There was like all these studies about how Overwatch was such a big hit in the very beginning that it was pulling players from every major game, every major multiplayer game into playing Overwatch. The only player base that wasn't significantly impacted by Overwatch release, Dota 2.
Because they have the aim.
Well, I mean, the idea was that every game, like League of Legends players were going for it. Even like a lot of the Hearthstone players are going into it.
Do you think that is affected by localization as well, like where the big player bases are?
It could be like the fact that Dota 2 is completely free and you get like all access to the content.
It's also like, to be fair, in terms of Overwatch, if you're looking geographically, where is Dota really popular? It's in China and Russia in particular, and those are not huge fan bases for Overwatch.
No, the
overall.
CIS region for Overwatch is very quiet.
Yeah, so I think free-to-play games in some of these other regions have really been good for accessibility. But also, I think the Dota community is just rabid, obviously, because they're spending their money out there to buy the compendium in order to help fund the prize pool.
Right.
So, and even if you're not an esports fan, you'll still spend money on the compendium because you get all this cool stuff by leveling it up over the course of the compendium.
And their fans are crazy. They turn up for everything. Like, I nitpicked a small part of one segment where I was like, this is not great. Like, production, like I would say, the production at times at TI was a little bit disappointing.
It was. It definitely was.
And I nitpicked something where they literally had casters, like a static shot of guys on camera for like 5 minutes straight. Like, there wasn't really any lower thirds. There wasn't anything to mix it up. They weren't working off the cues of the casters. And like their fan base went nuts at me when I said like this is objectively like not great production. They're like, oh, what do you know? Like, okay.
They are the neckbeardiest of fan bases. I'm just gonna say that.
Dang, wow.
The miladiest, if you will.
The millennium.
I've hung out with a lot of neckbeard communities. I can't crown just one.
Really?
I love them all equally.
I didn't say I disliked them. I just said they're neckbeards. So they are the neckbeardiest esports
That's
community.
true. I've hung out in some card game communities, and they can get pretty intense as well.
That's true.
But one thing that's really encouraging is the passion of it, and also that Dota 2 is constantly changing. They just had a patch that like nuked the entire game, right? Where like
what happened to risky? Oh, wrong game. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
No risky reels. Yeah.
I mean, the recent patch that came out, it just like
a comet came down right into the middle of the battlefield, right? Yeah.
It's like Dota 4 now. You have to go and check it out. Like couriers have like all shifted from like what you've known. Like I can't like recall because the patch notes.
You can get
like
them. Doesn't everyone get a courier now?
Yeah, I think everybody gets a courier now. Like their own individual one.
Damn. Oh man, that APM really needs to be stepping up there,
Yeah.
guys. Yeah, get ready.
It's a great time.
Like playing Lost Vikings in Heroes of the Storm now, except there's just 2. Okay.
Do not speak ill of the dead. It's a great time to be a Dota fan. Definitely check it out if you haven't.
Needless to say, Heroes of the Storm is not going to be on our top esports of this year.
Ouch.
Well, they're speaking ill of the dead, and then there is exhuming them, tossing them around, and reburying them. Okay.
Right, we're pulling out all the stops for the end of the year show. In at number 7 on our countdown is the newest Battle Royale game to hit servers in 2019, Apex Legends. Respawn Entertainment gave us the competitive multiplayer version of their Titanfall IP. Most noteworthy about this game was probably its successful and surprise launch that came out of nowhere. One of the coolest initiatives was saying, guess what, this game is out right now, and since then has stuck with the community, despite the fact that there hasn't been many pro-level events. So similar to Dota, I guess a lot of questions people ask is, can Apex survive without a ton of high-profile tournaments or a competitive league of some sort?
I have so many thoughts about Apex Legends because I actually really like this game. It's one of my favorite games to play personally, and it's just incredibly fun. Obviously, the monetization was poor, but it's been such a roller coaster ride because the game's quality is super high. And then it's like, oh, but they didn't have content at launch, right? But the launch itself was absolutely incredible. I didn't even know the game existed, and then I was watching Dr. Disrespect's stream because I heard about it the night before, started watching his stream the next day, and like within 15 minutes, he was like, here's the game, you can download it now. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. That I went from not knowing anything to literally downloading the game 20 minutes after their launch. And the servers didn't really break, and it was really fun. I was like, whoa.
But I had to use the Origin launcher. That thing blows.
It does blow.
So I think they're going to have to face a similar decision as I think the Fortnite has already faced and sort of conquered, or at least they're juggling, is the balance between influencer marketing and making a really solid, like dynastic esports product, right? They spent a ton of money when this game released to get the top streamers to play it on release day, right? That is where so much of the hype marketing for Apex Legends came from. Then players from around the world started coming to this game and saying, hey, like I know a bunch of ex-Overwatch pros or this or that. Like a lot of players thought, yeah, there could be competitive, viability here for them. And this is what pros do. They go into a game and they know life, and then they go, I have no money left. I haven't been making make some tournaments. Give me a chance to win money. And like this is what they're all complaining about. So, we have to see which direction Apex Legends goes in if they can double down on that.
But see, the thing is this is the esports end has also been sort of a roller coaster because I think objectively, BR is hard to watch, yes. But I think objectively it offers the best BR viewing experience that we've seen so far. It's higher time to kill. You don't have towers being built in the sky like Fortnite, and everybody's in a tiny little box trying to observe them all.
Trying to Taj Mahal on each other.
It's trying to like build new skyscrapers. So I do think that this game actually is the most watchable. And not only that, but they came up with this really great format where you started, you assembled points, you accumulated points, and then if you won the next game, then you won the tournament after you got X number of points. So it made it really exciting throughout, which I think the format in BRs in general has been lacking and kind of anticlimactic. But at the same time, they didn't have custom servers, and so there were all these other problems. So it's just taken a while to get the infrastructure there, but I think that much like Rainbow Six struggled in its first couple years after release and then went
and
or
Apex,
even CSGO.
Sure, CSGO is another great example. It's not dead yet, and everybody at least has tried it, and I think most people find it really fun.
And they're holding the line with content now. I think they've managed to keep people in the game, especially when we look, if they can get integrated tournament structures in client, stuff like that, and without people having to go into pub games and see how many noobs that they can stomp and try and get the most points. So obviously that's less than ideal, but we saw the same with Fortnite. So there's a real roadmap there. And from what I understand, it looks like that the guys at EA and Respawn are actually going to try and, really create these tournaments themselves, right? So they're not going to outsource it to like ESLs of the world. Like, they want to take ownership of this. And that's a good sign, I think, when a dev says, no, we're going to establish our esports department. We are going to create the competitive scene for this game, concurrent with our vision and what we believe the community wants. So that's definitely worth keeping an eye on as things develop.
Yeah, I think MSU Gerard hits it here. Fortnite's building mechanic is a huge turnoff. And unfortunately, what I like about the building mechanic is that it takes insane mechanical skill to build well. But the better you are mechanically, the worse it is to watch, which is not a great combination.
Yeah, exactly, because to build fast, you have to play in such a way that just gives people motion sickness.
Yeah.
And
I will say, though, TwitchCon was the first time I got to go to a live event with an audience watching Fortnite competitive for the first time, and it was pretty hyped to watch the last few moments. So if they can find a way, in the end, it's probably like the big problem with all these new emerging genres. No one knows how to broadcast them correctly.
Yep.
Right.
CSGO, Dota, League of Legends, and StarCraft. We've had decades to learn how to broadcast these games. No one really knows how to broadcast a battle royale. PUBG League's still trying to figure it out.
I remember the Gamescom tournament. They did the first one, the PUBG one. It was just so hard to watch.
No one knows how to observe it. No one knows how to cast it from a complete big stuff. So I think we're gonna figure out over time. But for now, everyone's criticisms are completely founded, right?
Yep.
In the fact that it's hard to watch. For now, we'll see how Apex continue to develop. And good luck to everybody, because we know they care. The devs comment a lot on social media, so shout out to all the active devs.
They do. For better or for worse, they do.
On number 6 of the countdown is a topic very familiar with these two clowns to my left, or camera right. The second year of Overwatch League was full steam ahead, and it had its ups and downs. 8 new teams were introduced to the league. The GOATS meta ran rampant for a better part of 3 stages.
Too long.
The 2-2-2 role lock was introduced to counter that. Commissioner Nate Nanzer left for Epic Games. Overwatch 2 was unveiled at BlizzCon, and the homestand model will be kicking off 2020. So much going on for Overwatch. Which of these do you feel like had the biggest impact, Uber?
Honestly, Nate Nanzer leaving for Epic Games was probably what one had the biggest impact.
Really?
I think. Yeah, less externally to everyone else. I mean, it did definitely show that, think about it. Nate was the guy that really sold the initial vision of the Overwatch League, right? A lot of things, and he, for us, was a huge driving force behind the scenes. Now, when he left, obviously, we were fine. We picked ourselves up and got on with it. But, people with vision in this industry and the willingness to actually create products based on that, to execute on that, are really important. So, we definitely felt Nate's departure pretty keenly. And a lot of us obviously, we wished him the very best. But, the Overwatch League has sort of changed its tack a couple times. Now the homestand model seems like a pretty agreeable way to try and really hit this localization goal, but we have to see if the players can deal with the travel, and there's a lot of unknowns. I love Overwatch, I love the Overwatch League, but there's still much to be seen still from Blizzard and from Activision and how they execute on the product.
Yeah, and I think if we look at the first 2 years of competition, it was more successful than most people predicted it to be. But these are still sort of trial years, and this next year with homestand is where it really needs to do well, because this is what it was intended to be, which is a localized league. And so it needs to do well under these conditions in order to be considered a success, because so much of the entire league has just been building to this moment. And we're taking the training wheels off, right? And that has to go go really well as things went, I think especially the finals in Philly, even though they were kind of boring, the Philadelphia finals were really well executed. I thought it went very smoothly. It was very impressive. We're looking at the finals from year one
New York,
as the New York finals, but both the finals have been really high production, really looking really good. But it's about taking that localized experience that we saw at the trial homestands in Dallas and Atlanta and Los Angeles, and then the finals, and turning that into a weekly thing. And that is an enormous challenge.
It's a big undertaking. You saw those shots of those people. I think that's what really, they're the most important to people like myself and Monty who sort of work on the league, right? It's like, giving them incredible experiences or at least helping them to experience the very best in Overwatch. And, I thought our finals this year were great. Philly it was actually really quite a smooth event. Everything ran really well. And it was a one-sided game. Still, the vibe in the arena was great. I am still bullish about the future for sure.
From the outside perspective, and I agree with self-stimulation here, I thought the homestand model proved a lot to me that Overwatch League had a lot more legs to it. And, I was a little bit more on the side of criticism where, I wasn't sure if taking traditional sports models would be the play for a league of this kind of size. So I was very pleasantly surprised to see the passion of the fans and how the homestands end up filling out. But it's like you said, can it continue, right? Does that momentum get stopped by the fact that, like Gerard's saying, the GOATs might have made it feel like people were less interested over time?
Yeah, can they sign their talent for next year as well?
There you go.
Spicy takes.
Can they do it? That'll be the next thing. I think just but the homestands in general, when we do 2 away from Los Angeles, not including the finals, right? We did have very good attendance. Those were sold out venues. There were thousands of people there. But it's getting those venues sold out week in and week out that's going to be the real challenge, because when they're scarce, only a couple, you can fill them out. But when we're having dozens, if not 100 homestands next year, that's where it's going to be really telling, I think.
That's right. Obviously, still per city, there may only be sort of 5 max homestands in the year for Washington or something like that, let's say, or Dallas or whatever. We need to see if it's just novelty, or if it's true fandom that's going to bring people out to these events. The reality is that we need to see if people will come for each one of these homestands, and they'll all of them be, great esports experiences with a ton of hype and great matches as well. We haven't even talked about the game, the state of the game right now. GOATs for 3 stages was not it, Chief. It really wasn't. Roll Lock definitely made some changes, but there's still consternation because the game's really hard to balance. It's really hard to provide a playing field where you can see a real variety of compositions and heroes, and the teams that tried to sort of break the mold there suffered for it in terms of their overall standings.
Well, we got some time before Overwatch 2 comes out, so we'll find out that you're able to achieve that balance.
Look, people were asking right here, just in Twitch chat, did they sell out or were the tickets given away? They sold out, just to be clear. They weren't giving tickets away to that. So at least from that perspective, now whether that will continue to be true is really the question.
And Overwatch 2, look, guys, as someone who is much more interested in the competitive side of Overwatch than maybe the lore and the story, there wasn't much there for me at the BlizzCon announcement, right? The new game type looks good. Overwatch needs more than just primary objectives, right? This game needs secondary and tertiary objectives. You know why people watch Quake? It's just 2 people playing against each other. But there's more objectives than just killing one another. It's timings, it's getting buffs and getting armor and getting the railgun and all that sort of stuff. In Overwatch, right now, it's just payloads moving along the map. Keep fighting the payload, just go there. In League of Legends, they have Dragon, they have Baron, they have jungle camps, they have Scuttlecrat to fight over if you're really keen. That's one thing I want to see from Overwatch, the new game type. There might be something there, but again, fighting over just the sort of same cart, we'll see. I haven't seen a lot for competitive Overwatch in Overwatch 2 yet, and I really hope I do.
Well, we did see a lot of interesting things happening in the competitive field, with Team USA taking out South Korea in the semifinals of the Overwatch World Cup. And then they defeated China in the finals to take home the gold. So then we started asking ourselves, has the West finally caught up to the East in Overwatch?
So the first major esports tournament was Apex in Korea, and it was won by Team Envy, which was a Western team. So really, in terms of premier competition in Overwatch, even a year and a half before Overwatch League started, we were already seeing a pretty good degree of parity. And also, Korea didn't field their strongest lineup. Many players didn't want to play in the World Cup because it's extra work.
It's like the Pro Bowl.
Team USA fielded a very good lineup of players, and they practiced a lot, and they really wanted to win. So I don't think we've had the same arguments in Overwatch, because for the most part, Yes, we had an all-Korean team with the London Spitfire win in year one, but in year two it was a mixed roster where our MVP of the league was an American player, Sinatra. So I don't think we've had that much. As an esport, yes, like 60% of the league is Korean, but for the most part, mixed roster teams have done very, very well.
Right. I think a lot of the comparisons when people say like, oh, it's like, people doing well at like, the All-Stars events for League of Legends. Sure. This was more of an exhibition.
It means something, right? I just think like both regions have a great density of talent. Like it was only a short time when we were really entertaining, like, will anyone beat Korea, that conversation, right? I think once the Overwatch League started and like there was a level playing field set, I don't think it was relevant really from that point on.
Fair enough. Let's talk a little bit about the London Spitfire, which is, of course, because we're the Cloud9 show, so we got to mention our boys in blue. The Season 1 champions made it to the playoffs in their sophomore season, but ended up being eliminated in the lower bracket. Spitfire will be rolling out an all-new roster in 2020. So, Monty, what are your thoughts on this new squad?
I think the problem with the London Spitfire previously, which is very weird, is that they were somehow, except for in the miracle run of the playoffs that they had in Season 1, less than the sum of their, like the sum was less than their individual parts, right? Like they had such insanely skilled individual players, but were somehow incapable of shot calling or coming together as a team or adapting in game. And so they decided to do away with the core roster, keep Agape as the primary strategic coach of the team, and then try and do it with new up-and-coming players for the most part, except for Krillin, who they kept. But for the most part, it's going to be a bunch of new players from the contender scene in Korea. Now, I do have questions, like if you're going to run this style of roster, why not just make a European roster would be my thought. But apparently they feel more comfortable with running with some of these Korean rookies.
And it may be because of the coaching staff they're sort of running in with. Okay, so I would like to see this team be a little bit more heavy-handed from a coaching perspective. I would like to see, I would not say I don't want to see micromanagement, but this is a rookie roster. Now, obviously, Cloud9 were either unable or not willing to keep their stars of yesteryear on this roster. And that is up to you to decide what you think why that is. This is a completely green team. These players have played in contenders. Krillin has barely played in the league. So there's a lot up in the air. And we need to see if they can do sort of what the Boston Uprising did with a team of relatively unknowns and sort of thrust them towards the top of the competition. This is a rebuilding year for this franchise. This is a rookie roster. Cloud9 have showed they've been able to work with those before, but I just want to set expectations for fans out there that, we don't expect them to be world beaters straight out of the gates.
Well, we do have the opportunity to watch this new rookie roster up close and personal because, speaking of the homestand model, we want all the Cloud9 and Spitfire fans to bring you the best signs and cheers this new season as they compete in the United Kingdom, where they'll be facing the Paris Eternal and the Toronto Defiant at the SSE Arena in Wembley on March 28th and 29th, respectively. They'll be back on June 6th through the 7th at the NEC in Birmingham. You're talking about flashback.
Shout out to Insomnia Lands.
Facing the Season 2 champion San Francisco Shock and the revamped Los Angeles Gladiators.
It's going to be some hard games.
Yep.
Head over to spitfire.gg/homestands where you can buy tickets and show your support for the home team. Now, switching gears to League of Legends. Have you ever wanted to step your jungling game up?
I have.
Well, Monty, new Cloud9 League of Legends starter Blabber will show you the path to becoming one of the greats.
Hey guys, it's Blabber here, and I'm going to be going over the changes to the new season and going through the jungle, I play on 2000 DPI and 50 in-game mouse DPI. And I have my FPS capped at 144 usually, but I play on 240 Hz monitor, so it's a little weird. And I play with my graphics on medium low. Well, the first thing that's a little different about jungle right now is you actually get less experience, I mean on generally all your camps except for Gromp, but you hit 3 after doing Gromp plus 2 camps right now, which is different than before, because before you would have to do Krugs to hit 3. Now you can do Krugs or Gromp plus 2 other camps to hit 3, which is pretty good because it lets you gank or invade faster, since Krugs generally took a long time to clear. Yeah, so this push here near the blue buff, it makes it more scary to invade because if I'm standing here and walking in, I don't actually know if someone's in here or not, and I have to face check to ward it or something. Someone might be in there. It's also a buff to Rengar because it just gives Rengar another bush to jump you from, which is, I mean, I died a lot in solo queue to Rengar just doing that to me. So generally, if you hide like this, you don't do the bottom bush because they extended the bush this way. You won't be seen by the minions, and then as long as the wave is not like right here in the middle of the lane, you can walk into this bush, and then they won't see you, and you'll be able to gank. But if they were like here, they'll be in the middle bush. They'll be able to see you wrap around. So it's not a huge change. It's the same as lane ganking from before. I mean, it just gives people more options to like run around and hide from it. I'm not sure if it actually does anything actually useful. Like, it doesn't really affect laning anything. At least I don't think it affects solo laners laning. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's that much changing just besides junglers, I mean, just feel weaker because you get less golden experience now. But I think when Elder spawns, it'll be pretty exciting. Just because the breath, like when it kills someone, it's like pretty cool. Even though it's like really loud. But I like it. I think the fans will like the new season. And I generally like it. I mean, I think changing the game up's good. Just for like a fresh new look into the next year.
5.
So there you go, Monty and Uber, some jungle tips for you by
Nice.
Viber himself.
Matt won't jungle when we play together, Mr. X. So like
I'll
sometimes
jungle.
will have to. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, let's go.
Were you guys like a duo of some sort, like
Yeah.
mid and jungle or top and jungle?
Yeah, I actually play a lot of support. I'll play AD carry, but I just play bot lane in general. But he got sick of feeding on Teemo top, so now he's trying to AD carry. And
Emo top.
yeah, he really loves it. It says a lot about him, I think.
That says way too much about him.
Yeah.
Have you
Makes
considered ending your friendship?
Not just the friendship.
Yeah, he clearly ran out of things to say at the end. I mean, sometimes when you're at a player and you're just like focusing, you just kind of zone in on the game. You can't really talk too much more about it. But like,
And that's why
there's
players,
so many more things.
That's why players make bad
But
casters.
I mean, there's so much. He's doing so much more than he's explaining.
Hello,
Like,
Mr.
I'm trying to
Overwatch
keep up with him
Well,
because I'm seeing like the Kindred stuff, and I'm like, I'm trying to follow along.
I actually looked that up. I saw this video, I think last night on Twitter, because I was looking for like the new jungle routes now, just the most efficient ones, because you get less experience from your buffs, right? And like when I tried it without sort of knowing what the route was, and I did 3 camps and was level 2 still, I was like, oh my god, this is so bad. So yeah, I was looking up like routes for Nocturne or something like that, and I came across that and watched it, so it was quite helpful.
Get the Blade of the Rune King. Build in TFT.
Just balk him, baby. Yeah.
You know, when you look at like Tenz's video, right, when he's like doing the record on the headshot challenge, he's like, yeah, just like, you know, click their heads.
Yeah.
That's like how the players explain it.
Like, oh, it's not much different. It's pretty easy, you know.
There's some great junglers out there that explain their thought process.
Overwatch players do that all the time as well. They think it's funny, just like they just click heads, bro.
I don't understand why kickers just can't kick.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's
It's just literally their job. Why do teams let that happen?
I think the most embarrassing thing about that is Ninja's literally like a professional gamer.
He should
and
get it.
He should get.
He
like,
should get it.
Like, I
can't-
can't understand why professional
Just
Halo
click
players
their
can't
heads.
just frag.
Yeah, they're paid to frag.
Oh god.
Yeah, and then people like actually countered that. Ducky, another Fortnite player, was like, yeah, why don't Fortnite players just click their heads? And he's like, that's a horrible analogy. There's building, there's movement, and I was like,
Oh, there's play
I'm pretty
calling,
sure that's a really
there's
apt-
screening.
look,
There's
I
icing the kicker.
I'm kind of a Ninja stan, but I was hard to defend him on that one. I was like, oof. But I think he's a marketing genius because every single time
us
there's
talking
a
about it.
kick, it goes through my head, that
Yep.
tweet.
You got
Marketing
about it. You won,
genius.
Ninja. You won. Damn you.
Good on you, man.
Well, Ninja's not at number 5, but we do have something very related to what we're talking about. It's Riot Games taking the spot. It's crazy to think that League of Legends has been out for a decade, and during their 10-year anniversary stream, they unveiled pretty much everything they're working on currently. They announced their entry into the digital card game arena with Legends of Runeterra.
What do you think about that game as a card game aficionado?
Uh,
I think it's pretty bad.
I think it has good core elements of it, but it's missing something. The way I describe it to other
Fun?
people is that, well, actually, that's a really good way to simplify it, but I said that I don't get the one more game syndrome from it. I get that from so many other things. I get it from League of Legends, I get it from Teamfight Tactics. I don't get it from Legends of Runeterra right now, and I can't describe to you why that is exactly. When I play the game and I win or I lose, I'm like, okay, cool, that was fun. I'm gonna go play TFT now. When I play like, other games, Magic the Gathering, Hearthstone, and other card games, because I'm a degenerate, I'm like, I just wanna play again, play again. So, it's a little bit abstract. I can't explain to you why. I've only played for about a week and a half. I think part of it's also their marketing strategy where they only keep it open for 3 or 4 days. And I missed it, I was on vacation.
It's a hype marketing, right? That's kind of
Yeah, they're trying to, but I think it missed a little bit with the audience because I think other people's attention spans are taken away. And also Hearthstone Battlegrounds came out during the second wave of that. And Battlegrounds really took a lot of those strategy gamers by storm. MonteCristo, slightly addicted to Hearthstone Battlegrounds.
I've been playing a lot of it. It's fun.
It's really fun. It's super fun. But either way, Legends of Runeterra, I have high hopes that Riot will, eventually figure everything out. And it's important that they do because they could truly revolutionize the economy aspect of card games, which I think is one of the hardest things and barriers to overcome for the genre in general.
No, it's okay. LCGs are already doing that. Just play Legend of the Five Rings.
L5R, baby. Let's go. Right hand of the
Sure.
emperor. Let's do it.
You can play Go and chess as well if you'd like.
Mitch and I play L5R. Dan hasn't been converted yet, but we're working on it.
But perhaps
You'll like good things
Nimsh is a
eventually.
huge L5R
Yeah, Nimsh
player,
is a
bro.
huge player.
Uber are gonna reinforce and convert into a deeper Riot fanboy with Project A,
Maybe.
taking all of the conversations of first-person shooters
Mark Merrill.
by storm. But it's set in a different lore, apparently.
Love me some Meryl.
Don't tell Loco Doco. And a lot of people are speculating about Project A, especially because people are talking about Counter-Strike and how, its growth has slowed down a little bit, but, people talk about brand-safe shooters. Project A could really help launch.
Oh, yeah, see, hey, get blown off, brand safe. Put that in front of your kids. Yeah, that's poison. Yeah, we love that too.
So the most disturbing thing in this is the resurrection that happens in the footage, because I really don't like resurrections in FPSs. I'm really curious about this. Is this the res?
It's a wall.
It looks like a wall.
Yeah, no,
I mean, this is
that's a
very
res. That's a res right there.
low-end graphics. This looks like
Look like David Bowie.
It is like, it looks like it's alpha or pre-alpha right now. Obviously, we don't have any information about game modes for this. We know there's a buy system like
Carly has a
Counter-Strike.
sniper. That's all you have to know.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I don't even know what to think about this because I've seen like 10 seconds of footage and there was a resurrection and I know nothing about what the game mode is.
Inject it directly into me. This game looks sick. The art style looks really nice. Also, shooting games with abilities. I might know a little bit about that.
I like to know what's getting injected into me before I beg for it. That's where Uber and I have some
that's fine.
different tastes.
Just tell me that it's feel-good juice and I'm all about it. Look, I think how do we bring it back from that analogy? How do we really do it?
things that I'm looking to inject myself with is the other projects that Riot has also announced. Project F, which is an RPG.
Yep.
Project L, which is their fighting game. That's something that I'm really excited about.
You take L's all day long. That makes sense.
And they acquired the studio such a long time ago, and I think that there's some promising stuff there potentially with the fighting game esports ecosystem, right? I think there's could be so much growth.
And the crossover potential as well,
Absolutely.
I think, is really there. I've always felt like there's a bit of a divide a little bit between fighting game community, maybe sort of other sort of competitive gaming ones. I mean, a chance to sort of reach across the aisle, as it were.
They're learning, though. Like, a lot of times, I think there's like an unfair stereotype that FGC people don't really want to be associated with esports. I think that's changed a lot in the past year or so.
I like
They like it when it's
receiving,
convenient for them.
When they win awards and get big contracts and sign sponsors.
Yeah, I mean, they don't like it in a way that it will actually get them sponsors or money. They hate that for some reason. They hate giving their professional players, a living wage. But beyond that, it's fine.
Beyond that, it's hype as hell.
It's great. It's
Definitely
actually
check out
great, guys.
FGC stuff.
What? Isn't there like a Netflix series coming out? It's like an animated series.
Yeah, so the
planned,
Arcane
It's
anime
not Netflix.
series.
It's not. There has not been a platform that it's announced.
Okay.
for
Gotcha.
yet.
Either way,
Fake news.
I love anime, animations as well.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to this. It's hopefully going to help
It's supposed to be
bring
about
together some
Caitlyn
of
and
those.
Vi. No, it's supposed to be a
pieces
Vi
of
and
lore.
Jinx, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the sister, which is
So
honestly.
I know a lot about this because one of my friends helped write it, but I can't say anything.
Screw you! Listen, guys, I know a lot that you don't know, but I can't tell you because I don't want to. Peace.
I'm MonteCristo.
5 head.
There's also the mobile versions of Teamfight Tactics and League of Legends, which come out, which is also really big, especially for those mobile gamers like myself.
Mobile League of Legends, that's fun. I mean, I already enjoyed Underlords on the mobile, right? So, and I've been getting into TFT because I've been playing a much more League in general. So, like, what's crazy? Excuse me. Had a bit much sugar. What's crazy is that TFT is so popular and it's not even on mobile and it's beating out other mobile auto battler games, which is kind of sick.
Yes. Underlords just takes really long. I think that's a big criticism. The TFT is going through a lot of patches right now, which I've been playing a lot. I've been playing a lot of Set 2 and casting it. I look forward to the mobile release.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to push it. I've never played it yet, but I think if it was on mobile, that would encourage me to play it a lot more. I think that's actually
trying to
really
you every 2 hours to play TFT.
I will play it eventually, but I think like the reason why I play Battlegrounds a lot is because I'm playing it when I'm
on the toilet.
Yeah, on the toilet.
What it like is.
Sure.
Say it.
Yeah, I mean, Hearthstone's a toilet game.
Hearthstone is a game for pooers.
I don't disagree. I play it a lot on the bathroom.
It's fine though. I mean, that's one of the things that makes it great.
One thing that
Pooping
I'm
at
really excited
Hearthstone,
for.
one of the glories of the modern
it actually
age.
makes me want to sit down and go #1. So that's pretty good.
Chad, tell us what you are looking forward to. But the one thing that I'm looking forward to possibly the most out of all of these is the LoL Esports Manager game. I'm a huge sucker for fantasy GM
So I was excited about that
Wayland Roselle
until
Simulator, bro. That would be great.
Wayland Roselle Simulator.
There's just a ban Monty button on the side.
The only button in the game, bro.
1,500 emails from MonteCristo.
No, there's no point in emailing him, honestly. It wasn't going to change anything. So, but yeah, that's definitely like an option. It's like, that would be a horrible simulator anyway.
So I like it too, and I like that they're trying to use their license to share that revenue potentially with the players, which would be really cool.
So my thing about that is like I was excited about that until I heard it was like a gacha game, and then I was less excited.
Oh, so you can open up like 10 like
You have to pay.
You have to pay to win and like all that other stuff.
I'm a closet whale. I'm not
so
gonna lie. I love gacha games.
Well, it worked. I love paying to win.
So I was really excited about that until I heard that, and then now I'm slightly less excited about it because on paper it like the concept seems amazing. I agree with you. The concept sounds great.
I'm gonna go for
Yeah, that's right.
Well,
3-star double lift still goes out in quarters. It's not a very strong comp.
It's not even out yet.
It's not even Frodan, that's not a very
Still
strong
says
comp.
everyone's trash. In fact, there's no difference between the 1, 2, and 3-star ones actually.
Yeah.
No, there's the double lift coached by MonteCristo. That's peak double lift. Yeah.
Axel asks, greeting
Almost
from...
gets relegated from LCS.
Damn.
Hey, I dissed myself.
That sounds like damn self-care. No one's safe from MonteCristo, including MonteCristo. Axel says, greetings from Budapest, Hungary. Looking forward to when Vulcan comes on the show. He's going to be coming on later.
Yeah.
So for people who are here to tune in to our newest Cloud9 support and some of his thoughts on boot camp, it'll be coming up soon.
Shout out to Hungary. My mum's Hungarian.
That's right.
Yeah, big love.
There you go. In the meantime, we're going to get past the halfway point of our countdown and go on to number 4, which is Activision Blizzard having a big year with the return of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which earns them the 4th spot on the list. In addition to Modern Warfare, the best-selling game of 2019, as per usual.
That's confirmed, right? Yeah.
I believe
as
in
usual.
terms of gross revenue sales, but we'll have to go ahead.
PUBG
and
Mobile
verify
also quietly killing it.
Yeah.
Yes, the Brazilian.
Or not
fan base
PUBG Mobile, I
loves-
mean
COD Mobile. COD Mobile, right?
But
Yeah.
PUBG Mobile
Either way,
also
yes.
killing
I knew
it.
you-
Both of them are killing it, but I was very surprised about their COD Mobile.
Also, if you watch the Twitch Rivals Fortnite mobile broadcast, like mobile shooting games are no joke. They're like as mechanically difficult as the keyboard stuff. So.
I mean, I started casting Vainglory like several years ago for the professional leagues, and people made fun of the league, but honestly, like, it was very difficult to play. Like, it was very mechanically demanding. It was a good game. It was a good game.
Mobile esports on the rise, and Call of Duty on console, on PC, on mobile, announced for 2020 with their new Call of Duty League, the CDL, where 12 city-based teams will be traveling and competing globally. And guess what? The homestand model. The old league came to an end with E United going back-to-back and becoming the final champions of the Call of Duty World League. The 2020 relaunch is taking a page out of the Overwatch League when it comes to city-based teams and the homestand model, but is missing key organizations like 100 Thieves, amongst many others. Uber, you're a COD aficionado.
I like me some COD.
Do you think they will be able to retain their core audience, especially with the release of each Call of Duty after year after year?
COD fans, they turn up. They always turn up to these events. Like the pre-sales for these homestands have already been pretty insane. In fact, compare it to sort of Overwatch sort of pre-sale, and they're killing it right now. Like there's a generation of Call of Duty fans out there.
Well, it's also that COD fans are used to attending these homestands, right? Like they're used to going out and showing up locally. So yeah, they definitely show up in numbers in person, which is obviously super.
I love the COD guys, you know, because like seeing how they and the Overwatch guys sort of respond differently to sort of how Activision Blizzard like to try and run their leagues is fantastic. Like, if, for example, like, you know, pro players on Overwatch, like, they weren't able to sort of queue up in groups of more than 2 on the ladder and stuff because it sort of slants games and makes it. COD guys just don't care. They just ignore them. They couldn't play like pugs, or they couldn't have any wager games or anything like that. COD players just ignore them, just do their thing. Like you cannot change these guys. The personalities in the COD scene are huge. So we'll see plenty of that come out next year. Some of the brands out there, like your Optics, your 100 Thieves aren't there. The players are still there. You know, hopefully, the broadcast is gonna be excellent as always. So
fair enough. So Uber clearly blinded by the fanboyism. Monty, I want your hot take here. What do you think will happen by the end of next year with Call of Duty and the fact that they update with new games year after year?
I actually don't really like this schedule that they're on, because I would think that the best time to start the Call of Duty League would be right after the new game was launched, like even a month ago. So I really don't, when they're starting in January every year, it seems like a lot of the hype of the new release of the new game will have died off. And it seems like they're targeting sort of the back end of the game's life cycle rather than the front end. So I would prefer if they just moved it to immediately after the game's launch to capitalize on the popularity personally.
I have a 5-head take on this. I actually think that if CDL goes well, it might actually shift how the development cycle works.
Well, that'd be fine. Well, they want to sell it for Christmas, though. I think that's the issue.
Yeah, absolutely. But imagine, like, I think it's possible that they actually try and have a COD of all CODs game that is the sort of competitive format, that they actually, instead of releasing new titles.
Game?
Yeah, not necessarily. And maybe they still release COD titles alongside of it. Maybe they function as DLCs, or maybe they pivot a little bit differently, because I think it's really bad for an esports scene to have a new game announced and to play on the old one for another whole year.
I don't think anyone would do that.
I can't imagine that it's really a common practice, but if it would happen, it would not be ideal.
I also think it's capitalizing on a market that doesn't exist, because right now every other esport is in off season in November and December. Like basically after League Worlds ends in the first or second. This year was the second.
It was just All Stars.
This year was the second weekend of November, but usually it's been the first weekend, which is the same time as BlizzCon. So it's slightly later that Worlds ended this year for League. But I think that you've got COD out. You could be the only game in town in terms of esports, really, for the next couple of months. So why not take advantage of that timing? But as you say, they might move the release dates. They might move the league as well. We don't really know. So I think that's my really big concern with it. But I think for the most part, as you say, the COD fans are going to turn out for this. I don't think
Midwest is nuts for it.
Yeah, I think the homestands will be successful, is what I'm saying. It's not very different from what they were doing previously, so I have no reason to believe it wouldn't be the same result.
He's even more of a fanboy than me. He actually just used an appeal to antiquity for us. I can't believe that.
That's true.
I think it could be also just like the growing pains, right? Like we could know there's probably a lot of like delays for technical reasons that they couldn't get it up by January. Yeah. And they'll adjust the schedule. It happened in Hearthstone, actually, because we used to have broadcasts when the content cycle was ending. And when it's in the card game, like in Magic, you're supposed to host a tournament after the new set release, not at the end of it. So they had to adjust it slowly, and it took about a year and a half, but they finally got on the right cycle.
I'm sure they have
I imagine that's probably going to happen.
Yeah, I'm sure they have a plan for it.
For sure. So with that, we now officially enter podium territory, the final 3 coveted spots on the Nines Countdown, the only esports awards show that matters. The number 3 spot goes to the League of Legends Worlds Finals. It's the pinnacle event of the year for League of Legends, and the semifinals between SK Telecom, or T1, and G2 broke Western viewership records. But at the end, it was FunPlus Phoenix representing the LPL in China that stood atop the heap of competitors. There are other events in esports that might have singular hype, but no other tournament really embodies the culmination of a full season and has as much anticipation as League of Legends Worlds. Do you agree or disagree?
I definitely agree, and I think that this year in particular was very impressive, both for how tight the competition was. It really felt like many teams could have been crowned the eventual World's champion. Is very difficult to predict. Also, I think that the music performance and the holograms they did were absolutely spectacular. It was probably the coolest esports opener I've ever seen. Which, by the way, in esports doesn't set a high bar. But even with that said, I think this was really, really good objectively. It was stunning. So it's something that I had never seen this technology anywhere before. And seeing it there as part of an esports event was really cool. So I think the whole hype around it was really good. The tournament itself was very compelling. It was really fun to watch along and do Summoning Insight here on the Nines with it. So I was really impressed overall.
Yeah, I think the broadcast roadshow was really good. The storylines were excellent. The grand final was disappointing. I mean,
when you don't have double elimination, this is going to keep happening. The format's still bad.
We had double elimination in Overwatch League. We still had a disappointing final.
Yes, but the difference is so if you have a disappointing final in double elimination, it just speaks to the level of dominance of that team. And I think what was impressive was the San Francisco Shock going into the losers bracket and then not even losing a game after that showed their level of dominance.
That's true.
And it doesn't eliminate the possibility of a bad final. It just lowers the probability that a bad final happens. It's like we didn't have a great TI final this year either.
Right.
That's true.
Doesn't always
it always
happen.
seems to be that semifinals are the hypest matches in any tournament, and it's usually only one of the semifinals because there's always a top dog team that breezes through in one half of the bracket. But Worlds was great. I really enjoyed it. I liked coming back and watching the game again. The parity between not quite NA, but the parity between a lot of the regions was really impressive as well. So kudos.
Yep, it's going to be great to see it because next year they're moving over to, I believe, Shanghai, right? Or China in general, to try to have even 2020 beat 2019, which is going to be a high bar. Given
It's all about their 10-year anniversary Worlds tournament.
But this is what I want to see. I want to see them keep trying to beat it before, and instead of trying to find ways to sort of cut corners or whatever. We will want to see this as a combination of the esports competition in League of Legends is to try and always go bigger and better. And they had I remember when they had that AR dragon fly around the arena in 2017. I want to say
it was really
so
cool.
Crazy for me.
They won an Emmy for that.
Yeah, well deserved, and it keeps getting better.
Right. Axendol, who is your brother from Hungary, says that he was there in Berlin talking about the tension. The Team Liquid versus IG deciding game was so hype.
Yeah.
Really fun. I'm sure if you've never been to a World Championship or any just League of Legends live viewing experience, it's really great. You should definitely check it out. And we've talked a lot about LCS in North America not performing well this World, a little bit actually. After all the roster shakeups, do you think there's a chance that a team from the LCS can be competitive next year, Monty?
No.
Cool. Speaking of League, before we get to our top two things in 2019, we have the newest support of Cloud9's League of Legends team, Vulcan, joining us in Cloud Connections, presented by AT&T. Joining us all the way from Korea is the new Cloud9 support, Vulcan. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us. How's boot camp going so far?
I'd say it's going pretty well. The living conditions here are pretty nice. So we're in the Cloud9 apartments, are really, really nice. We have a good area with malls around, so we can go eat food whenever we want to. And then in terms of how the actual bootcamp is going, we're doing pretty well in Challenger right now. I think we're around 1.1 KLP. So Silky's going pretty well.
So I was talking with Jack a little earlier today, and he said that you guys have played, you and Sven have already played something like 250 games together since you've been in Korea, which is quite the grind. How have you found the solo queue experience so far?
Korean solo queue definitely has its up and downs, I would say. But recently, I think we've been playing versus a lot of Korean ballings, or LCK ballings rather. And these are really testing us to be better in laning phase, especially because while we were climbing, it was pretty easy to just do laning phase. But after that, we kind of had to carry our inconsistent teammates, I would say.
So how's the synergy between you and Sven coming along then? Are you guys feeling comfortable?
We are, yeah. We're hitting kind of some low problems, I would say. One second. I feel like any balling would face some problems, but nothing too worrying. I think that's kind of healthy actually in a relationship for a balling, and I think we're hitting it off pretty well right now.
So what's your daily routine out there, boot camping? Obviously, a lot of people know that, it is an intense time for practice and acclimatizing. How many hours are you putting in?
We've been waking up at around 11 or 12 right now and stopping at 2 or 3 a.m. The last few days, we just got a chef actually, so we have no reason to go out of our cave right now. Because
The dream!
yeah, so we're gaming most of the day. But in the previous weeks, we would go out to get food twice a day, which is probably a good thing. I think I'll try to get out a little bit every day, because just staying indoors is not exactly the right idea.
Got it. People are talking about the value of boot camping and playing solo queue. You have fans analyzing your games where you're clapping deft in the bot lane, and everyone's like, "Oh, does this mean that Cloud9 is back? They're going to be a top team." How do you evaluate the value of solo queue games, especially when you're playing against other really top Korean players there?
I did see that Reddit thread, and a lot of people were saying that it's just solo queue. It doesn't really mean much. It won't translate to stage. Well, I think it's true. Korean solo queue is a lot harder than NA or EU solo queue, so it does say some things for, like you guys were saying, the synergy between me and Sven, and our individual ability, right? The individual skill of both Sven and I. So while it doesn't necessarily mean it will translate to stage, I think it's a really good sign that we can hold our own versus some of these top tier LCK blinds.
So you were playing with Clutch at this World Championship. What were your big takeaways from attending Worlds with Clutch this year?
One of the big things that I learned is that there isn't like a better way of playing League of Legends, I guess. In our groups, there was a lot of different teams. We played versus SKT, who were a very, very, very slow team. They would just choke you out with pressure, while RNG, while also slow, would play around Uzi a lot and would take any opportunity to take a fight and get Uzi fed. And Fnatic was kind of a freestyle team, I guess, where they would, I think Illisang in particular is a player where he would do anything he feels like can get him an edge in a game, and he's really creative about it. So we saw a lot of different playstyles. So yeah.
So obviously now, after Worlds, you're new here into the C9 family, but you've actually played with Blabber before, back in Scouting Grounds. So actually, it worked out for you and Blabber, but do you think that the event in general, Scouting Grounds, is valuable for orgs and even for players?
For me, it was really valuable because it was hard to actually get my name out there, I guess, and show teams that I might be worth picking up, that I'm worth developing under their team. So for the players, it's definitely valuable because in NA, I think NA struggled for a while in developing talent. Obviously, that's a common issue everyone's talking about right now. But it feels like in NA, there's nowhere to showcase your skills. So for the players, it's valuable, and for the teams, it should be as well. But I feel like the teams are not really capitalizing on it, I guess, where some teams won't really try hard in Scouting Grounds, or they won't really give too much care or attention to the players that are attending.
Got it. I think a lot of people are talking about the current patch and the meta game. So from your perspective, how do you think everything is going so far?
The game has been fun to play. The Dragons changed. I mean, anytime there's a change, it makes the game really exciting to play. Just to learn the game again is really fun. I'd say the metagame right now is pretty fun because it's fast, and every team always wants to fight the dragon because you never want to be in a position where you have to fight the 4th dragon and then you get an ocean dragon and you're regenerating 24/7 in every fight. It's really, really annoying to play versus. So it makes the game exciting.
Yeah, I do think, having played myself a little bit, the Ocean Soul, like you're saying, is super strong, and also potentially the Execute on the Elder.
The Elder, yeah.
Might be a little bit too strong. What points of adjustment do you think Riot should make on the new patch?
Those are pretty good points. The Elder, I mean, I think they were saying that the changes they wanted to make is that once the team gets the first Elder, it's kind of the GG buff, where it definitely feels like that right now. I'd say it's a little too much too, because it makes pretty much any team fight unwinnable unless you finish the fight in like 5 seconds and you're not even close to execute HP at any point. So there would be that. In terms of bot lane, I'm only playing 3 champions right now. It's like Nautilus, Leona, Thresh, and I feel like a little more variety would be appreciated for me. I think they should probably buff Spell Thieves. They took away too much power after the support changes. So that would be my changes.
Obviously, they've also recently that we've got nerfs for Senna and a slight buff for Yuumi. Do you think that really changes anything going forward in the bot lane?
Senna was really, really broken. I haven't seen exactly what they're changing on her. I heard it's a lot, and they're trying to push her into being more of a support because, at least in Korean solo queue, every time it's open, it's insta-locked and sent in ADC.
I think she scales less, I think, now, with on AD with her Q and also her souls. So it's like a slight tweak.
Okay. Her scaling is really ridiculous right now, yeah. I think Sven has over 80% win rate on like 50 games of Senna. Something ridiculous. So that's good. I would hope Yuumi stays in the bottom tier of supports because I don't think that's a very fun champion to see or play versus. So
I think she should be deleted. Personally.
I agree. I'm done.
I got the zoomies.
I think a lot of people are really excited to watch you compete and talk about what they hope Cloud9 can achieve in 2020. What are your personal goals, if anything, for next year?
My personal goals on a team level would be, I definitely want to win one. I want to win a split. Last year I didn't come really close. I guess we were close versus Team Liquid. But all we did is win the gauntlet, which doesn't really feel like a win. And I want to win something. I feel like that's the next step for me in my career. And then for as an individual, I think I want to be an all-pro support because a lot of people are saying that Core JJ is like the #1 by a long shot in NA. And I want to make it more interesting. So.
Oh, I like it. All right, so we know we don't have that much time. So before we let you go, where should people follow you?
I've been streaming on Twitch a little bit more at Vulcan_LOL. On Twitter, I'm VulcanLOL. I like to tweet some weird things that I think fans could like, so you can go check me out there.
All right, just make it up to make it interesting, baby. Let's go.
You'll have to go check it out.
You're tempting me.
Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to us, Vulcan. Good luck boot camping and next year with the team.
Thank you, guys. See you.
All right, so while we were doing that interview, MonteCristo was also typing up in chat. Who are you talking to, Monty?
I was talking to Winter's Ward about his detestable Yuumi playing ways. But he did say that he only plays her on NA where he has 140 ping. So that makes a lot of sense, right?
Handicap.
So,
low mechanic champion.
Overwatch League analyst Sideshow is a Yuumi main.
Of course he
He
is.
loves playing
Why
Yuumi.
is the Overwatch cast just like horrible people?
They're not. It's just Brennan Sideshow.
And,
Okay.
That's
and Mr. X.
And
Mr.
Mr.
X.
Well, he plays team. Yes,
Yeah. Why do they play only troll champions?
Because-
and I know Bren just plays Yasuo. So
Yeah,
these are like the worst people that you want at League of Legends.
Brendan's a weeb. He just wants to play assassins. He just wants to feel powerful playing League of Legends.
Fair enough.
I understand. He's compensating. So.
That's what we all
I'm a
want.
Jinx main, baby. About it.
For our second spot in our countdown, we reserved it for the rise of the streamer in 2019. The largest streaming platform, Twitch, received a hefty dose of competition this year, with Mixer making moves. That's right, signing Ninja and Shroud to exclusively broadcast on the Microsoft platform has earned the #2 spot, as we were alluding to before. And in response, Twitch locked up other streamers such as Nick Merckx to an exclusive contract, and just today reported that Twitch has re-signed with Tim the Tapman, Lyric, and Dr. Lupo to multi-year deal.
You know what was the weirdest part about that Ninja announcement when you think about it? Is that they faked a news conference instead of actually just doing a news conference. Who does that?
You know, the best part about it was
Who does that?
Everyone in the news conference was him in a different costume.
Well,
Yeah.
it was supposed to be a meme video, Monty.
Yeah, but
Wasn't
it wasn't funny, and also
Boomer alive!
there are many ways you could do this announcement and make it entertaining. Faking a news conference when you could literally just have a real news conference is peak not
He
He
fun.
was trying to squeeze in all the sponsors, right? The Adidas, the Red Bull fridge question. I mean, that was
This was Lollapalooza, right? When he was there playing. He was like
Yes.
dropping Red Bulls down to the crowd. It was kind of weird, actually. I liked it. I think it worked, but
I do want to give a shout out to Ninja for trying to make the best while he's on Mixer, right? Mixer started their own equivalent of like Twitch Rivals, which is Mixer matchups. He was casting it. He's trying to like get himself involved in the community aspect of it.
Mixer matchups.
Whenever I tune in and see Shroud on Mixer, I just try to check him out once in a while because he was one of my favorite streamers to watch for the competitive side of stuff. Like when Halo dropped on PC, he was like playing World of Warcraft Like, come on, like what happened? You know, there's like, where's that drive where it's like you just want to immediately play the
But
game?
that's it, right? You're big chiller now because you signed a fat deal where, and look, let's be honest here, the amount of subs you get doesn't really matter. Does it?
Yeah.
Does it really matter?
It doesn't matter. It's just more like, I figured that would be a big marketing move for like Mixer streamers to be playing a Microsoft game. That's one of the most iconic Microsoft games of all time. One of the biggest franchises in media history.
And he's also an FPS player, so
right.
Maybe
on
it was
PC,
just
nonetheless, right?
Maybe he got tilted. Who knows?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I think overall, and Frodan is paid to disagree with this, but I think it's really important that Twitch actually has competitors, and so I'm all about. I think Ninja made the ballsy move to go ahead and like break the mold, and we're seeing that increasingly. Now Twitch has started to sign streamers. There were some big announcements today about that. But I think overall, I admire Ninja's courage in terms of breaking the mold and going to try and do something else.
Which has opened the doors for other streamers to get paid, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Now,
So, Monty, go and cast Splatoon so I can get richer. Is that how it works? Like, you know, like you leave, you do something kind of different, open the door for everyone else?
I mean, I did literally do that in League of Legends, was increase people's pay, but, and then leave. So that is a thing that I
Splatoon,
did.
bro.
which
They swim in it. It's great.
Facebook also getting into the mix with Disguised Toast being signed over there,
Yep.
as well as some other people. So, you know, there's a lot happening. So people are wondering what's going to be the future of Dr. Disrespect, of Pokimane, and Summit, and all these other big streamers that currently
I really only care about Doc, I'll be real.
Well, the good news is he has his own TV show potentially in the works where
Yes,
he can get more of his content.
That's going to be interesting. I mean, I would love if it was like a sort of guerrilla performance thing like Borat, except it's Dr. Disrespect, just clowning on people in real life. That was what I was kind of hoping for. But, I mean, didn't YouTube signed Courage, right? So YouTube is still a player in this game as well. And, I mean, you know, they're much more selective, I feel like, because everyone's content goes on their platform anyway. They stream on Twitch, they put it on YouTube anyway, bro.
The most interesting thing to me is that those streamers who have moved have been at least publicly tweeting and talking about their mental health being such a better state than they were when they're on Twitch, because the pressure is off in terms of like, because they have the bag secured money-wise. They have a much more reasonably healthy community because the people that follow really want them to succeed and follow them. And they have like better work-life balance. So it's one of those interesting things where the rise of the streamer might actually be the descent of them as they slowly like sunset their career.
Slowly
or
descend
potentially
into
physically-
well-being.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think streaming's exhausting. And if you're doing it like every day, and if you're doing it to chase paychecks, that's doubly exhausting. I do it for 3 hours, like once every few days, and I'm just tired. It's not easy. Like, you know, you're performing a lot of the time.
For 8 to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think that part of that is the mentality that the streamers have, that they must always be on to chase these subscriptions, to chase the money. If you look at Dr. Disrespect, again, going back to him, he has a very discrete streaming schedule that's weekdays, 7, 8 hours a day. He basically works a normal work week. And is it harder than a normal work week? Yes, it is. Objectively, shut up, office job plebs. Trying to be entertaining for 7 straight hours and always be on and performing is much harder than you walking around getting a coffee break, ignoring your work, browsing Reddit at work, your attention shifting. So it is much harder, but at the same time, I feel like he has set some very distinct boundaries. And has it hurt his career? No. And the reason why is because he's actually just way more entertaining than other streamers. I think what streamers fall into is they're like, if I don't grind, they don't think what if I was better during fewer hours? They think, I just must do more at the same level of quality.
Your well-being manifests in some way if you're looking after yourself?
But it's instead of just taking the next logical step, which is what could I do to be unignorable? Everyone must watch me, but I'm only going to stream 5 hours a day. What does that content look like? They don't think about that. They just think, I'm going to stream for 15 hours.
Yep.
Right. And
Supply and demand, baby.
Start complaining about everything and fall.
So I really just think it's a lack of innovation on the streamer's part, frankly.
I mean, the fans even sometimes feel it. They're calling people React Andes now, as it's a popular term. It's like people just watch clips and react to it. Then you watch someone else react to it. Then you watch the guy react to the girl who's reacting.
We had that in Overwatch the other day. Brendan's Sideshow were just reacting to each other reacting to things.
Yeah,
is this
those are fun sometimes, but it's also a little bit low-hanging fruit, kind of lazy. So
Content.
We'll see.
Everything is content.
Either way, I agree with you, Monty. As you said, I am paid to say it. We encourage competition. So what platform do you think is best positioned, to challenge Twitch? Is it YouTube? Is it Mixer? Is it Caffeine, which also is a streaming service that's still kicking?
Well, it's also interesting what's going to happen with Caffeine because they're owned by Fox, and then Disney bought Fox, so now technically they're Disney. So I'm curious what's going to happen with that, especially with the success of Disney Plus launching, and if there's going to be a live streaming integration into any of their products, which is definitely a possibility. I think right now they're like Mixer's probably the closest, just because they're run by Microsoft, and YouTube does not have a centralized streaming hub that's good, since they killed like the YouTube gaming stuff.
Thing, yeah.
That whole thing has been kind of weird because from what I heard, there's some infighting between the people that love gaming at YouTube and the people that at YouTube who don't really want anything to do with gaming because of people like PewDiePie and like the association with that. So it was like for a long time some identity issues, and I think that's still kind of persistent.
Yeah, I think so.
Against rumors that I've heard, I don't have any confirmation.
I just don't think YouTube for like live streamers and stuff like that are interested in esports, which I think sort of can.
That's also true.
Which makes up a considerable amount of like the viewed hours on Twitch. Not saying it's the majority or all of it. So that is not. I don't think that's really part of the scope of their approach, and I think that YouTube, they kind of identified that it is those individual content creators. Like they're not trying to get tournament organizers and game developers over on their platform. It's a little bit different.
I think it's hard though, because if YouTube's trying to use their current popular gaming content creators, it's very streaming and making YouTube videos are two entirely different skill sets. Yes. Like people making a 5-minute YouTube video that's very compelling is extremely different than doing unscripted content for 6 hours. Like those are
worlds of difference.
Yeah, those are very, very different.
As seen on this show.
Yes.
I'll make this look easy.
Yeah, I think like I would not put PewDiePie in a live streaming environment. Let's put it that way.
Yep. Well, that's fair.
For many reasons.
Yeah. That's also its own topic and a half. Either way, we're getting away from a little bit from the question overall, but yeah, like I think Mixer has done a lot for the top end. So how's the tail end, right? Like what are they going to do now that Twitch is securing the rest of their top talent? And they need to fill out that middle class, right? Like ultimately, the people that aspire to move up and also want to keep that grind are just as important as the top streamers of that platform. Because if you just have the top streamers and you have them forever, the platform won't grow. So I think overall, it's really interesting.
Okay, so are they considered just as important?
Like as a group. Right, like you need top streamers, you need the stars so you can get people's attention, but you also need the people that rise up because an ecosystem is only as healthy as the new blood.
Yeah, LCS.
You need new things to come in, and also, most importantly, you need old things to start like rotating out. Like that's just part of what makes it healthy, right? You can't just have otherwise there's overpopulation, oversaturation.
Sure.
That's another question, right? Like how do you service all these top partners that you do have? And make them feel special. If they're all special, then no one's special. So it's a tough situation. I think Mixer will have that problem if they continue to grow. But I do hope that competition does push everyone to be better, right? Because I do hope that competition continues to rise because it does push people to be better, and it's pushing Twitch, and I hope it continues to do so. And that's me speaking, not as a...
We can all agree with that, for sure.
Yeah. But Mixer matchups, am I right?
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I would have known it. It's a Streisand affair. I'm going to watch it. I wouldn't have known about it if you hadn't brought it up, to be honest with you. I watch Twitch Rivals,
Yeah. Well, Ninja casts it, and he tweets about it every now and then. So
okay, Mixer matchups. You guys want to pay me to do Magic the Gathering? Because Twitch Rivals...
you're talking to me.
No. I'm talking to Mixer matchups.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Twitch doesn't want to...
Dan doesn't want the competition. He's like Twitch.
I wasn't aware that they had streamers besides shooters.
Yeah. See, Dan over here, Frodan. He's like, he works for Twitch. He hates competitors. He's trying to monopolize the market in digital card games. Right. So he's kicking Uber off the Magic brand.
I wear bow ties. It doesn't stop.
That's important. That one. Yeah.
Well, we're almost at the top of the mountain / bottom of the list, or best of the best, however you want to look at it. Because stick around, we'll be right back with the #1 spot on our 2019 Esports Countdown Awards show and other related stuff. And afterwards, we'll fight about it, and you might be able to get some Puma swag. All right, well, we finally made it to number one
We did
on
it.
our countdown of biggest moments in esports and other related stuff of 2019. Cue the drum roll.
Oh, we have one. It's a MIDI drum roll sound. I love it.
Time now. It is the Fortnite World Cup and Bugga winning the solos tournament, taking home a record-breaking $3 million. Afterwards, Bugga became practically a household name, streaming on Twitch, getting thousands of viewers. Bugga came on. Bugga, we invite you to come on the show, by the way. That's a note from the producer. He's actually streaming right now too, but don't tune into him unless you're multi-boxing and watching us as well. We're going to debate whether we agree with this list in just a little bit. So before we argue that, there's no arguing that this event was super hyped. What do you think made the Fortnite World Cup so special from your perspective, Uber?
Look, I think it's such a wide appeal of this game, right? Like everybody in different sort of walks and ages and generations knows about this game. So then take a global competition with people from all around the world, and you just sort of heighten that kind of exposure that you give not only to the players but also to the title. Obviously, there are a lot of sort of reasonably big influences involved in it, and the prize pool made it a big talking point, especially the age of Bugha when he won. Everyone's like, "Oh, did you hear about that 16-year-old that made millions?" Like that's the receptionist at the bloody whatever service I go to, like the doctor's office, when they ask me what I do or I have to put it on the form, goes, "Oh, what about that guy that that everyone knows about this?" And like it hit the mainstream really, really hard. So. And I think it didn't make esports look worse. So,
I think like in terms of penetrating the cultural consciousness, this was a really important event. And I also think in some ways that it was just a very important tournament for esports as a whole because it was tens of millions of players that competed to get to this point. They had such, I think the game is so huge, and the way that they automated the qualification system was such that effectively tens of millions of people were competing to be number one. It was super sophisticated. We've never really, I think probably in human history, had something that was like that many people competing to be up there and winning like Bugha did. And I think the other thing was that he won very convincingly as well, which is even more amazing when you think about it. Like it wasn't really that close, right? So it was impressive all around. And I also think, now it could have happened to anybody, right? It just so happens that he is very charismatic and well-spoken at the same time. So obviously that didn't hurt either for him to become a really, I think, impactful face of the Fortnite community, of the gaming community in general. So am I sold on Fortnite esports? No, but I think this one event was, we're gonna probably look back at this and say that this was a really significant event, even though I think for esports fans, it kind of didn't matter, but I think in the broad gaming landscape, it was very significant.
Yeah, I think
for non-gamers, it was really significant. For gamers, I don't think anybody really cared.
Yep, that was pretty much my point. I think for people who don't really follow a lot of esports, it doesn't really land nearly as much as it means. I mean, even for people who do follow, they think, I'm playing the wrong game. I have so many people that like come up to me and say, they're struggling over getting a $1,000 sponsorship, and yet there's kids out here placing, in the top 100, making tens of thousands of dollars.
I think it's completely disproportionate. But like, it's like that old guy going like, you're getting paid too much money to do this thing. Like, it's not for me to say, but I think like these players now have to go and wonder how they can attain consistency and results, because sometimes it feels like a big old dice roll. Like, and a lot of people, I believe, Bugha won the Esports award for Esports Player of the Year.
Well, I disagreed with that, but that's fine.
You're on a committee.
I didn't vote for him. I voted for Simple. What can I tell you?
So like that, I think that that's getting too ahead of ourselves. Great kid with a great performance in that tournament. It was a big tournament and it was a lot of money. But your quality as an esports player is not based on the amount of money you win from that one event that you do actually win. I'd like to see some consistency there. Like it's a little bit overblown, but it's the first time the public is getting the is aware of an esports event. It'd be nice to see, that build into them being aware of other things like the LCS or the international or those sort of dynastic sort of structures. To see them to fall into the public consciousness more would be great.
All right. Well, I say
I have a comment here. DJack69 says, "Where are the glasses, Frodan?" Well, it's time to out Frodan. Frodan's glasses aren't real. They don't have lenses in them. He's lying to you.
You guys should be able to tell
constantly.
that, really.
none of this is real.
So
Wake up.
So
You're dreaming.
He doesn't actually need glasses, which is why he doesn't have them.
That's right. Well,
ever need glasses?
Now, I'm never accused of being woke, but I could definitely see that there were no lenses in those. So just be careful what you believe, sheeple.
We have a lot of interesting topics for click debates. So
Like the conspiracy theory around Frodan's glasses.
we can talk about whatever we want because this click debate is sponsored by Puma and it starts right now. So this is the final click debate of the year. So this determines, I believe, in a winner-take-all true.
Gotcha. Yes.
Yeah, of course.
The 2019 click debate champion is
I'm
Uber
like
and
20
Monty.
points ahead of him, but that's fine. Winner takes
Final
all.
Jeopardy.
So whatever, just beat you once again. Fine.
And you in the chat have a chance to weigh in and possibly win some Puma swag. All you gotta do is type in the chat who you agree with more. Is it hashtag Monty? Is it hashtag Uber? And use the hashtag
Here, I'll show you
Puma.
what you should type. There you go. Right in the chat.
Monty will type an example of something you may or may not want to type. It's up to you. But the one thing that you need to keep in mind is you have to be 18 years or older and live in North America.
So
You can get some brownie points.
There is
Actually messed it up.
Sorry to our Hungarian brothers.
What'd you do?
I tell you hashtag Monty, but it's
People are voting even before the
Monty,
first word
hashtag
said.
Puma.
So today's topic, we've alluded to it before. Do you agree with the list order? And then we'll see if there's anything left off the list / honorable mentions. So let's start with you, Uber. What do you think of our order of most impactful esports and other related events of 2019?
Gotcha. I think like if we're talking about esports events for esporters by esporters, I don't want Fortnite number one. Like I'm not trying to be a boomer, but like you can't do this, bro. Like this.
Fortnite number one is for e-gamers.
Yes, it's for e-athletes, you know, for online gladiators.
Not for esports fans.
Sorry, and like, God, you can't. Everyone had the same complaints about the Overwatch League when it first came out. Like, you can't just prop this up with money and expect it to be good. But like, it's $100 million prize money? That's great. It's a crapshoot to try and win a Fortnite tournament for these guys. Like over all these different games, and like, no offense, but who was Booger before this tournament? Now, like, I wasn't all that deep into Fortnite, so I didn't know. I actually think the Riot's announcements about their development projects should be way further up this list because I think it's a company that's never had more than one game. They've often been ridiculed for it. They've got a game that's been popular for 10 years and still going strong. I mean, pro players that were pros in Season 1 of the LCS are still playing that game religiously now, even if they're not up there. You know, the potential for a spiritual successor to Counter-Strike, which I believe was what was referred to, is huge. You know, the fact that they're just exploding across multiple genres with a huge ability to impact the industry as a whole, I think that this was very significant in general. And not only because, you know, I hope it scares Overwatch into putting more heroes in the game next year, but, you know, I think that Frodan just said it, competition's really important. So, you know, I think that's up there. I think the Call of Duty, the Call of Duty stuff, you know, we still have to see a lot from that yet. I think Call of Duty sort of flew a little bit under the radar of the last few years. You know, was it huge? The announcement was cool, but we haven't seen anything from it, right? So, yeah, I wouldn't have it as high up as it was. Overwatch League finals can stay at number 6. That's fine with me. Like, it was good. It wasn't groundbreaking. I think we had a really good year, but yeah, I'm not going to lie. I don't think it should be number 1.
No, I mean, it obviously, like, depends much more on next year, I think, for Overwatch. Yep. And for me, I also agree that it's hard because Fortnite, again, I feel like was sort of a cultural touchstone beyond the esports sphere. So if you're going to count it in terms of that, then yes, it was, I think, extremely impactful. But for me, I think it was League of Legends World Championship that should be number 1 in terms of what we saw from the production side. It was super impressive. The tournament was super compelling this year. It had such great storylines heading into it that it really felt like the best Worlds we've had in a long time, maybe since, like, I don't know, 2015. That, for me at least, I thought it was the most fun to watch since then. I think the game's in a really good place. Thought the opening ceremonies we talked about earlier was amazing. I also think, like, probably the Star Ladder Major for CSGO deserves some spot on this list. Now, I'm not going to argue that the majors for CSGO this year were really good, especially compared to some of the, like, the Boston major was obviously, like, extremely hype last year with how it went into overtimes at the end of the finals and everything like that. But I do think the Star Ladder Major was well produced. I think that what was impressive about it is when they were criticized by some of the casters for not having the best group of talent, they went and then they signed all those casters, and they put on a really good show, in my opinion.
Yes, please set the precedent of us pressuring you into hiring us. I like this very much.
Yeah, so
It was a good show.
Yeah, I do think, I mean, there was a new map in Vertigo, and so there was some weirdness to it at least. But I do think Starlighter put on a pretty good show overall. And I think that CSGO continues to be one of, if not the most compelling viewing experiences out there in esports. So.
And I also think like there's an outside for like, you know, maybe at number 8 or number 9, I would have put in the Mythic Championships for Magic the Gathering now, really like transitioning over into like fully produced broadcasts with Magic Arena. I think that's something that really can grow next year.
I agree, and also Magic is just super popular right now. And the other thing I would say that's been really interesting that I watched a lot is Method, their Race to World First in World of Warcraft. I thought was like fascinating content.
Truly Classic WoW could also be on that list as well for the phenomena that's been upon its re-release, you know?
The two things that I feel like are missing on this list, there's actually 3 things. One of them, the 9 should absolutely be higher. I can't believe we got snubbed at number 9. Yeah. I think one is Arslan Ash and his run through Tekken. Mm-hmm. If you don't know about Arslan Ash, he won EVO this year, and this guy's from Pakistan. And that's not a country that I think about whatsoever when it comes to gaming competition. But he comes in, travels to a foreign country, and just absolutely cleans up. And such an emotional moment on stage at EVO. And it's so raw because they're not competing for anything except pride. Because top 8 at EVO gets you like $50.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like that, and that's like the most prestigious fighting game tournament of the year.
I'm sensing a problem with the fighting game community. I don't know what it could be, but.
Well, that not aside. I think like that was like a really great moment in esports for me. And the second thing, and again, this is not surprising given my background, is VK Lion winning the Hearthstone.
That was
Grandmaster
really impressive.
We don't really have girls or women just competing on stage very frequently. When they do, it often is a point where people use it as a form of mockery, right? Like we have a girl or woman in Hearthstone Grandmasters, and she gets flamed nonstop. And then when she got relegated, she was like at peace to finally stop competing. Not only did VK Lion come in the weekend doing, playing really well, but she was doing it in a unique style, bring her own decks, and she executed very well. And she was a very deserving winner, and I think she left nothing on the table.
I think what was weirdly disappointing, and hear me out on this one, is that I feel like so much of the press was about how she was a woman and not about how incredibly dominant her run is. Right, and I think the most impressive thing was how hard she dominated the entire competition.
She was undefeated.
She was undefeated. And like, for me, it was kind of a bummer that so many people were focusing on her gender rather than the fact that she absolutely crushed everybody and her accomplishments as a player. So I didn't like that personally. Like, it is cool that we had this woman to win the championship, but what to me was even more cool was just like, I like watching people get slammed. Like,
it was. I mean, you love dominance, and I think that's partially what we enjoy as commentators. And she had it. She was 3rd place in the biggest open in China. Then she got 2nd place in the following tournament. And remember, in China, their competitions are like 1,000 players, 2,000 player competitions. So he's getting 3rd, 2nd, and then she wraps it with the first. Grand finals. That's just as consistent as you get.
I can echo what Monty said about like the way that her run was sort of viewed. I don't think it'll be like that forever. I think we need to see more women win more of these tournaments and dominate in this fashion. I think like it's a pretty common ideological angle for journalists to take. It
was a big moment for a lot of the women in the room too.
Yeah.
Sure, like I'm not saying that wasn't impactful. I'm just saying that I feel like it takes away the narrative of her actual incredible skill, because the narrative of her winning as a woman would have been the same no matter how she did it, and then she did it in incredibly dominant fashion. I feel like that should have been really, I think, pushed.
Which is what we tend to focus on, when someone wins a tournament as well, as the manner in which they're able to achieve that result.
And I think that's largely because a lot of people that pay attention to Hearthstone probably only do it when it's convenient for them to sell a headline. If another person that won, like from Europe, tends to be really dominant in Hearthstone. Mm-hmm. If another European guy, male, like end up winning the tournament, I think people would just write an article but wouldn't think twice about it. This is like another angle that they could try to sell people to click on it and get really excited about it.
Completely agree.
And that's like another topic altogether, and it's not necessarily something that we're going to debate here. But ultimately, I feel like that was such a big moment for our industry, and it was like really special to be part of it.
Yeah,
for myself.
So tons of honourable mentions for this list. It's very hard to condense it down to just 9 different events or titles. But before we wrap up, I think I think we should do some unwrapping, right? Who are these presents from? They're from C9?
From Tiffany.
Oh, yeah.
From Tiffany. Yes, the Tiffany's bags. Wow.
Is that Tiffany's bag?
You shouldn't have.
Is this towel?
Thanks, Jack.
Oh, done.
Thank you. Thank you, Jack.
Oh, hey, cool. That's right.
It's a sweater. What everyone
What are you?
needs.
Okay, so if you are an esports org and you're not selling a Christmas sweater, what are you doing?
What are you doing with your
Why
life?
are you not doing that?
Why are you not selling blankets?
Are we gonna wear these for last episode, guys? What do you reckon?
Yeah, of
Sure.
course.
I'll find a way to wear this.
I clearly
blanket.
don't care what I wear, anyways.
Next week, by the way, is the last episode, not now.
That's right. No, this isn't the last episode.
Wow,
But
this is actually
speaking
very
of-
comfy.
Speaking of our last show, that's it for our year-end countdown here in this show. So everybody make sure to tune in next week for our last episode. We'll be looking back at some of our best interviews and Cloud9 connection moments. It'll be on at 9 p.m. Eastern time as per usual, right here on Cloud9's Twitch channel. Make sure to follow this channel if you want to make sure you can catch it. And if you like this little production we do, make sure to let Cloud9 hear it on their social channels at Cloud9 and use hashtag #TheNines with the numeral the nines, guys. I'm Uber. That's Frodan and that's Monty. Thanks for watching and good night. See you next week.
MonteCristo, Esports Private Eye, come in.
Griffin, my dear Griffin. Oh my God, you died too young.
What can we do to prevent this from happening again, Thorin?
It's midsummoning it.
What up, Crum?
No, do your runway rock.
What?
Yeah,
Do your rock.
Oh my
Turn
God.
it around, turn it around. Show us what's
Work it.
Let's see what's in the pants. What's in the top of the
Yes,
pants?
that's right.
Let's see it. Let
Yeah.
me see it. Ooh.
To the camera, walk up and do a gesture to this camera. This one, number
Be a
2
snake.
What? Number 2.
You're a fearsome cobra, Loco Doco. Yeah. Yes.
They don't pay me enough for this.
And of course, this.
That one wins. Whoever made that wins. Was that
We're not going to give.
Smithie's? Yeah.
We're not going to give it to Doa,
No.
but his
Oh,
excellent.
it was Doa's,
graphics-
that's right, yeah.
Doa's photoshopping of Loco Doco. By the way, Loco, the fact that you aren't like literally printing merch with